Welcome back to our trip in Egypt. Many of us are familiar with Agatha Christie's novels and their adapted movies. Our trip was inspired by one of her most famous novels, Death on the Nile. It started from the southern part of Upper Egypt, Aswan and Abu Simbel, then along the river Nile to Luxor, and finally reached Egypt's capital, Cairo. In Aswan, we stayed in the old Cataract Hotel, where Agatha Christie also stayed when she wrote Death on the Nile. The hotel's decoration details have both British colonial design and Egyptian elements. The hallway has a display of all the celebrated guests that stayed here, like Tsar Nicholas II, Winston Churchill, and Margaret Thatcher. Old Cataract has become a popular tourist destination after it appeared in the 1978 movie Death on the Nile. Here are a few scenes. The hotel also offered us a private tour inside their Agatha Christie suite. The original desk used was also on display. From her suite, we can directly see the view of River Nile. It must have inspired her to many of the novel's plots. When the sun sets, the Nile completely changed its view into a golden color. Having tea by the riverbank was quite an exotic experience. After leaving the old Cataract in Aswan, we continued south to Abu Simbel.
Welcome to the Temple of Abu Simbel. The facade is 84 feet long. Each of the statues of Ramesses II is 65 feet high.
Abu Simbel is near Egypt's border with Sudan. The massive temples were built in the 13th century BC, during the 19th dynasty, under the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses II. In the 1960s, due to the construction of the Aswan High Dam, the temples were moved, block by block, to today's location. 4 colossal statues of Ramesses II stand sentinel at the entrance. Inside the hall, 8 statues of the pharaoh are lined up, showing his link to god Osiris, the god of the afterlife and resurrection. Wall reliefs surrounding the hall depict Ramesses II's power and battle scenes. This most famous one shows the king on his chariot shooting arrows against the enemies, and him taking the enemies as prisoners. At the end of the hall is the sanctuary, where Ramesses sits together with the gods. Continue walking after exiting the King's Temple is the temple dedicated to Ramesses II's wife, Nefertari. It was built in similar layout as the King's Temple, but in a smaller size. The two temples face the same direction, overlooking the Lake Nasser. Continue north down the Nile. We are arriving at the center of Upper Egypt, Luxor. Luxor, once the ancient city of Thebes, was the great capital of the new kingdom. The city itself is basically an open-air museum with the Temple of Luxor and Karnak inside the city center, and other monuments, such as the Temple of Hatshepsut and Valley of the Kings across the Nile. Luxor Temple is one of the two primary temples here. It was built around 1400 BC by several kings including Tutankhamun and Ramesses II. At the entrance, there are 6 statues of Ramesses II and one of the 2 original obelisks. The other one is now standing at the Place de la Concorde in Paris. When we were there, the temple was preparing for a national celebration of the recently restored Sphinx Avenue. A few days later, the grand show was on. The avenue goes in a straight line for 3 kilometers, connecting the Temple of Luxor and Karnak. Karnak is the other major temple in Luxor. There, we'll see the city's glory in its prime. The temple was mostly built during the 18th to 20th dynasty. Hatshepsut, Seti I, and Ramesses II have all left their marks here. Karnak Temple was dedicated to the god Amun, the main god of the Egyptian Empire. Amun was in the form of rams in ancient Egyptian religion, so ram-headed sphinx can be found throughout the temple.
Inside the great temple of Karnak, we pass the pedestals of numerous small rams. Each with a small image of a manifest tree in front of it.
Go past through the rams. We are here at the most beautiful part of Karnak Temple, the Hall of Columns. 134 massive columns arranged in 16 rows, with color from the days when they were built, have been standing here for thousands of years. One of the most famous scenes in Death on the Nile was filmed here, the murder attempt. Our trip in Upper Egypt ends here at Karnak. Next, we continue to Lower Egypt for more wonderful experience in Cairo. See you in the next video.